Sangha breathe as one body, chant as one body, listen as one body, transcending the boundaries of a delusive self, liberating us from the superiority complex, the inferiority complex, and the equality complex.
I take refuge in the Buddha,
the one who shows me the way in this life. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and of love. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community that lives in harmony and awareness. Dwelling in the refuge of Buddha, I clearly see the path of light and beauty in the world. Dwelling in the refuge of Dharma, I learn to open many doors on the path of transformation. Dwelling in the refuge of Sangha, shining light that supports me, keeping my practice free of obstruction. Taking refuge in the Buddha in myself, I aspire to help all people recognize their own awakened nature, realizing the mind of love. Taking refuge in the Dharma in myself, I aspire to help all people fully master the ways of practice and walk together on the path of liberation. Taking refuge in the Sangha in myself, I aspire to help all people build fourfold communities, to embrace all beings and support their transformation.
Testing, 1, 2. Better? Okay, everyone hears. Well, now that the Dharma talk is over, I thought I'd turn to looking at some concepts. And I've written some on the board. I don't know if you can see them, it's rather small. You have to excuse me, I'm getting over this chest cold. It seems to linger. So, looking at some concepts. And this last year when I went out to teach, I was looking at the retreats as rather like workshops, sort of a workshop approach. Because this is really the workshop that we exist in here for the monks and nuns. The workshop of the mind. How to build, how to unbuild or take apart, how to adjust, how to carve a little, and sometimes hammer a couple things together. If you probably didn't know, yes, I tend to take the responsibility of the construction and renovation on the property. And as I'm walking here, I was looking at the construction over there and wondering, how are they going to put this, how are they going to transport this huge beam from the deck all the way to the top of the structure so that they can create a roof. And that's sort of like our practice. Okay. How do I get from here to there? How am I going to work with this? Work with that? So I thought I'd take some time to go over some of these concepts. And this is what they are. They're concepts. They're ideas. I think humanity has always had the challenge of expressing experience. How do we express an experience? And that's not always easy. And it's often can be quite complicated, sometimes rather misleading. We mean to say this, but that happens instead. So, the experience of mindfulness, attention, concentration, samatha vipassana, and meditation. So I want to approach these subjects today. Because this is why we're here, right? To practice, to cultivate. And if you're here, the retreat, you're here on a general stay, and you're not cultivating, you're not practicing, you're not applying that effort, then you should go home because you're wasting your time. This is what we do here. This is a practice center. It's the whole reason for the monastery, is the practice. For the monastics and for lay people. So it's a special opportunity. As for monastics, we have the challenge of not taking that for granted, because we live here 24/7, and it's very easy. And for others to really appreciate the time they have here, because they You all have busy lives. Yep. You come here, you have this time frame, this period set aside. I'm sure you made a lot of arrangements to be here. And so that's value, right? That's valuable time. So it's important that we make use of the time that we have. Because time is fleeting. Yeah. When you're young, you think you have all the time in the world. When you get older, I don't have enough time. Running out of time. Yeah. But in reality, we don't know what will happen tomorrow. We don't know what will happen in the next hour. So it's good to put in perspective of what is happening. So, mindfulness. If you ask what is the practice of this tradition, this community, what do we say? It's mindfulness. Well, you would get it incomplete on that for a grade. But you can make it up. Don't worry. It's mindfulness, concentration, insight. And it's important that you understand those three things. Mindfulness, concentration, and insight. And we'll be looking at this, especially in the context of meditating. Mindfulness creates concentration, which sets the foundation for insight. It creates the foundation, creates the condition for insight to come up. Now, we don't gain insight any more than we gain, say, an eye or ear. We have that. We have all the insight that we need within us. We have an innate Bodhi nature. It's already there. It's already present. It's just that we have a lot of obstructions and challenges to that block that experience within us. It's an inhibitor. And usually we would talk about the three roots, three unwholesome roots. Greed or attraction. We talk about desire, hatred, take a look at delusion. Delusion. What is meant by delusion? A delusion is not seeing things as they are, or seeing things that in a way you want to see, or your habit energy has you see. Okay. For example, impermanence. One of the classic examples is seeing something that is impermanent as permanent. When we assume things are permanent, we assume things will always be this way. Okay. That things don't change. That people don't get sick and die. That attitudes change. Or going back to my introduction, we'll be here forever, or someone will be here forever. I will always have this, I will always have that. But nothing is permanent. Nothing is impermanent. For example, the sun. the sun seems permanent, but we all know who have taken geology or astronomy know that it's not. Or we read the science, Nature, the magazine, the Nature, yeah. Or National Geographic. And we know that the sun is not forever, that one day it will burn out. The earth will not always be like this. Putting aside the discussions of the climate change. Dinosaurs inhabited the earth for millions of years. Human beings have been around for a couple 100,000 or less. Homo sapiens, sapien. So things change. The tectonic plates, the continent that we're sitting on, travels at about 1 to 2 inches per year. I think we're going that way. Yeah. Southern California, LA basin, it's going that way. So about 500,000 years, Los Angeles will be San Francisco. And San Francisco will be Anchorage, something like that. So things change. So that creates a lot of suffering. So this is why we practice. Okay, to overcome our difficulties, to understand our difficulties. We have to understand before we can overcome. We have to look at and be in presence with those difficulties in order to understand them. It's knowing the mind, knowing our habit energies. It's very important. And that's what all these concepts I just mentioned are about. The mindfulness, the attention, concentration, meditation, etc., etc. And this is why we're all here. I'm assuming. So we'll begin with, also I'm going to try and leave a little time at the end for questions. Okay, this is a very nuts and bolts kind of thing. So we'll begin with mindfulness. Mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness has 2 basic aspects to it. Who can name one? Oh, you didn't know I was going to ask the questions, huh? Yeah. You thought I was going to have the questions. Okay. One of the aspects of mindfulness. Noticing. Being aware. Being aware. Okay. Anyone know the second? We don't talk about it a lot. Huh? Well, it is an energy. It is, all mental states are energy. It's really to remember, to be mindful of, to remember. And we want to remember, the present moment. Or we want to remember, this meditation object. So it's to apply and maintain our attention on an object. And its basic function is non-distraction. Okay, non-distraction. Now, as you're sitting here, some of you are, have a very strong attention to this Dharma talk. Some of you might be thinking, well, this is all right. So I wonder what we're having for lunch today. Or I wonder what they're building over there. Or I wonder if we're getting any snow this year. Yeah. Or maybe you're falling asleep. Attention. Yeah. The distracted mind. How to get beyond the distracted mind. Because it's the distracted mind that doesn't allow us to see things as they are. Quite often it entertains the complex of making things up, seeing things the way we want to see. So, maintaining that attention on the object, whatever that object is. The object might be your feet when you're walking. The object might be your breath. It might be your food. The object might be a contemplation or thought about something. Where does this food come from? What is my mind? We're talking about traditional Zen, it would be the koans. They would be the object. So bringing your attention to an object and trying to maintain it. And that's the tricky part, trying to maintain it. Because we've been so conditioned for distraction. You know, it's very easy. Very easy. So let's take a look at what is meant by attention. Attention. Attention is the mind's first contact with an object. Okay, let me say that again. The mind's first contact to the object. In other words, I have my attention on this object, which I call a cup, okay, made of what I call glass. So it's bringing our awareness and our mind to a particular object. Now in Buddhism, there's what's called wise attention and unwise attention. A wise attention is an attention that brings you a positive, beneficial, wholesome mental state. Okay. It's a bit like right concentration, an application to bring your mind to a positive, wholesome, beneficial state. And then there is the unwise attention, which you could probably guess what that is. It's the opposite, right? Yeah. So, wise and unwise attention. Where are we putting our attention? And this talks a lot about, and refers to a lot in, say, the mindfulness trainings. You know, that more moral, ethical aspects. Or that consuming aspect. What am I consuming? Whether it's food or conversation, it's consumption. Anything that comes through the senses is sense food, you might say. Or what am I looking at? Okay. For example, reading the news. Okay, I see a lot of difficulties in there. How do I handle that? Is it easy for me to read all the difficulties throughout the world, or not? So what are we feeding ourselves? And that's our attention. So where we place your attention, that reinforces our minds, either in a negative, unwholesome way, or in a positive, wholesome way, or sometimes in a neutral way. Neither. It's just there. So attention, and wise attention, and sometimes Thai refers to it as appropriate attention. Then there's the attention of intentional attention and a reactive attention. So an intentional attention would be mindfulness. You're intentionally looking at an object, right? I'm intentionally bringing my mind to this object. intention would be sort of involuntary. Okay, say you're walking through downtown Tokyo one sunny day. Okay, you're just walking along, maybe you're looking at the shops, and all of a sudden you hear this great roar. Next thing you know, this building right next to you collapses and there's Godzilla. And you look, oh my God, Godzilla! Yeah. That's unintentional, or that's reactive attention. Something that grasps your attention, your awareness. So the process of attention is like mindfulness, it's part of mindfulness, trying to keep your attention on an object in order to develop your concentration. As opposed to going through life with a very busy mind, a very distracted mind, a mind that has wrong perceptions. Yeah. So that's the function. So attention, mindfulness, creates the conditions for concentration. Now, quite often you'll hear us use the term samadhi. Samadhi. Concentration as samadhi has two general tenses. One, a very general concentration. In a general sense. Just saying, okay, well, we're going to talk about samadhi today, and it's just your basic concentration that you experience every day. It also has another specific sense, is a specific mental event. And that's a one-pointed mind. Okay. One-pointedness. Meaning, my mind is on this object. And it's staying there, and it's clear, and it's focused. I'm at ease. I feel spaciousness. I'm not creating ideas. It's a non-dualistic state. Yeah, a mental event might come up, but it goes away. It's part of the landscape. Okay. So it sustains the object. Concentration sustains the object. Now that you brought your mind to the object, it sustains it. And as you go deeper into meditation, and we'll go over the stages, some of the stages of concentration, it develops more and more. And again, the basic function of samadhi, the one-pointedness, the concentration of lucidity, clarity, ease, spaciousness, is the basis for understanding, the basis for vipassana, insight. And this is what is important, because it's the insight that we use to learn about ourselves, to learn about our nature, to learn about our difficulties, our habit energies, right? That's the reason why. So, let's take a look at meditation. How many here meditate regularly? Okay. How many here meditate semi-regularly? Once in a while? Okay, weekend warriors. Okay, very good. Okay, so meditation begins with a type of concentration, of course. Okay. It's called a preparatory concentration. And it's the first stage of meditation. You can't do it without this. It's preparing to bring your mind to an object. So you sit down, find an object, usually the breath in our tradition, and then we begin. Now, preparatory concentration is a bit wider than just that. Okay, it's a bit wider than that. From everything on how do we live our life, does that support the type of concentration for meditation? To, as Thai often says, our meditation begins before we get to the meditation hall, referring to our walking to the meditation hall. And for me, that's the real preparation, is how I walk to the meditation hall. Where is my mind while I'm walking to the meditation hall? Or we rush, got to get to the meditation hall. So we rush to the hall, then we sit down and we practice. That's very challenging. Yeah. So it's a preparatory, because you're creating a space and conditions for a particular mental event. Right? Concentration. The joining of an object in your mind. So preparatory. Now, attention and concentration in the light of meditation. Concentration is your ability to maintain your mind on a given object, right? To maintain it there. Now, when you sit down to meditate, does your mind stay on your breath? No. Not at this stage, right? Okay, so it's sort of like, you sit down, okay, there's the object and you're concentrating. Oh, slipped away. So you go back to it. Oh, you forgot all about it. You're thinking about tomorrow. So, but with your mindfulness, which is very important here, you bring your mind back. Oh, okay. And on and on and on. Right? That's the early stage. So your mind, and this is where we have to apply the most energy, right? Going back. And when you've done that about 1,000 times, you go back again some more. So it takes a lot of perseverance. You really have to want to meditate to actually meditate. You know, it's not something you just pick up on the weekend, but it's mental training. In the early sutras, the word bhavana was used for meditation, which means mind cultivation. Mind cultivation. So that's the experience of preparatory. You're in that state, you're sitting down, but the mind is still all over the place, and it's like tug of war. Yeah, applying a lot of effort, going back and forth. Well, eventually, after a while, you begin to settle down. Right? And so you have sort of what could be referred to as sort of intermittent, or sometimes they call it continuous, but it's not really continuous. Meaning, your attention on the object is no longer back and forth. You have a little more continuity in maintaining that object. But still your mind wanders off. Not so much. It's not so difficult to bring it back. So as you progress down these, I say stages, but I don't really like using stages, more like signs or signposts. We spend more time with the object and then a little less time bringing it back. Okay, so for all of you who are struggling, keep going. It gets better. Yeah. And so we play this sort of back and forth. So and as we do that, our mind is calming down. Okay? The body is calming down more. That's why your posture is important. Because as you sit, if you're sitting too forward or too far backward, you're using muscle, and you're creating energy to hold that muscle. Meaning you want to sit so your body is at the center of gravity. Okay, so you can kind of rock back and forth a little. If you're sitting now, you can just kind of rock a little like that. And you can find your natural center of gravity for your torso. Yeah. And that's important because your body gets more and more relaxed, okay, until you have a stage where it just feels like it's melting right down into the floor. Yeah. And that happens when you have more and more concentration on the object and not the mental dispersion or going back and forth. So that's sort of this stage through there. But as you progress, it becomes easier and easier. Until you get to what would probably be called a samadhi. Samadhi, I call it samadhi proper. Where it can be expressed like that, with a little blurb. Blurb. Meaning, your mind is continuously on the object. You're at ease. Okay. If something does emerge, it's like it's there and it just goes away. It's basically effortless. Now, as you progress along the stage, there's a real danger. I don't like to use the word danger because it's too reactive. When you're in a particular stage, in this particular state in your meditation, where you start going, wow, this feels really good. Yeah, I like this. I'll just stay like this forever. You know. But if you feel good, it brings you to a very good state. Sometimes it's referred to joy, rapture. We kind of relax off our object. Yeah. We're just enjoying this so much that you pretty much completely ignore the object. It goes periphery. Yeah. So we have to apply more attention. Okay. And you have to kind of create a greater interest for that object to bring your mind back to it, because you just feel so good sitting there and your body's totally relaxed and you're not thinking about this and that, and it feels very at ease in the meditation. Then we get preoccupied with, oh, feels great, and we forget about the object. Okay, so to get to the deeper states, we need to continually maintain that object, whatever that object is. And depending upon what school you look at, there's different levels, what they would call levels of concentration. Traditionally, the Theravada would have 3 basic ones until you get to the state of jhanas. The Mahayana, specifically the Tibetan, they have like 9 delineated forms of concentration on the path of meditation. But this is the basis of it, is being able to have your mind settled, established on an object. Now, as we're talking about this in terms of sitting meditation, this also applies to mindfulness in every day. As we walk, as we do dishes, as we cook, whatever, because the practice is our daily life. Of course, we're not going to hit deep states of samadhi while driving. That would be quite disturbing. Or deep states of samadhi while doing dishes. Okay. But it's important nonetheless. Because obviously it's important, or else none of you would be here, right? It has a type of value to your life, your daily life. Yeah. It also maintains and supports your sitting meditation. Okay, I think we'll have one sound of the bell. So I think I'll reserve a little time for any questions regarding talk, your practice, mindfulness, meditation, etc. Yes. So everyone can hear.
Hi.
Hello. What's your name?
I'm Sam. It's weird to hear my voice.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
When you talk about one-pointedness as you look at the cup, is that the visual as it's like maybe in your hand, and then are you just focusing on the visual sensation of it, or every sensation? Like when you talk about that?
The one-pointed, what is that experience?
Yeah.
Okay, well the one-pointedness, at least in my experience, is just basically being with an object. Okay. Whatever that object is, it's just being with that object and experiencing that object without interruption. And that depends upon what your object is. That's what you experience. With the breath, you begin to see more aspects of the breath, subtle aspects of the breath. Just as anytime you concentrate, you have your focus, attention on any object, the longer you look at it, the more you see the subtleties of it. Yeah? Yeah. Brother Fatman.
Normally wouldn't take up the time of the Sangha to let you all have a question, but I'm dying to hear about Samatha Vipassana. I don't know if that was a trick you were waiting for us to ask you or not. But
Yes! And you fell for it.
I thought it may be.
Right. Well, Thai talks quite a bit about shamatha vipassana, and that's tranquiling and insight, okay, or wisdom, okay. And these two things work together. In some traditions, they practice samatha. Emphasis that calming, abiding, tranquiling, everything we're talking about. Sometimes that word is used synonymously with samadhi, with concentration. Because those two things go together, right? When we're calm, we can concentrate. When our mind is not dispersed, we concentrate. When we concentrate, our mind's not dispersed, right? And so the shamatha lays the foundation for, of course, our insights, our understanding of any object. So when we're sitting down at a meal, for example, and it's been a busy day, so you have your food. So you're going to look at one of the contemplations. Where did this food come from? Well, in order to get there, we need to calm our minds down, right? Kind of go back to the breath to be able to be fully there, present for that object. So we use that in that contemplation. The contemplation is the object. The food is the object. Well, when we do that, then we're open to understanding that food on a deeper level, right? So it's not just food. It's just not a rutabaga on a plate, It's not just a bowl of spinach. But there's more. There's more. And we begin to see the interbeing of it, the interdependence of it. Yeah, so there's more. So the shamatha is the practice of tranquiling, one-centeredness, and vipassana is the insight that comes from it. And they're linked together. They're linked together. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
I think it is. My name is Wendy. Does insight then lead to compassion?
It can. It certainly can. When I first began to practice, I had the insight, well, sometimes I'm kind of a jerk. Yeah. You ever experienced that? You think, wow, or here's another one that really startled me. I thought I was a very liberal person. And then when I finally took a look at myself and what I really kind of like and don't like in the political spectrum, I found, wow, I'm a little more conservative than I thought. Yeah, I'm more middle of the road, even a little on the other side maybe. Yeah. So yeah, it creates insights, and it can make you a more compassionate person if this is your object. or by using a visualization, by seeing yourself as Buddha, or sending energy out, these acts of generosity. Those are your objects. I think we had a couple more over there. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Rocio, and my question is related to insight, because now that you mention it, I realize that I usually stay in the danger zone, and then I leave. And I go on my day just having that feeling.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to ask you if the insight can come after, like throughout the day. I started thinking about it and rethinking, and like you said, I open the field, and there is a brainstorm and a rain of ideas, feelings. I get in touch with myself, and I keep reflecting throughout the day. Or it's actually, as you saying it, that it has to be a chunk of time, design it to do it. And if you don't do it in that way, then it's not working well. Is that what you're meaning? Or what,
Yes.
what's that?
And no. Yeah. The sitting, again, the sitting meditation is dependent upon our mental states when we're not sitting, and when we're not sitting, our mental, they're reinforcing each other, basically. Okay, they're reinforcing each other. Now, it's perfectly fine to sit, bring up really nice states, okay, and to go with that. I've used that technique quite often, especially when I have moods. When I'm in moods. It's a good mood changer. So, it's not that we shouldn't bring up these kind of states in meditation, but there's more to meditation. Yeah, there's more. And it can be an obstacle in that context of sitting. But it's not an obstacle in terms of if you want to generate good mental states, positive states, then it's a very beneficial thing. And if you can carry that all day, whoa, I bow. Yes, yes, yeah. And insight comes anytime, anywhere. Flash of lighting. Yeah, anytime, anywhere. Question?
Sangha. So it seems to me that any of these concepts has elements of the others within it.
Yes.
So operationally, is there a sequence that works better, or is there just the awareness? Because oftentimes I can get caught up in, am I in this mode, or in this mode, or in this mode,
Yeah.
and trying to kind of label it as such.
Yeah.
So is it just an expansion of context of awareness gradually, or is there an identifiable sequence that can be followed that works better?
Yes and no. Don't you hate that? Human beings are very varied creatures. There's a basic structure, but it sort of has a lot of room for variations. Because when I talk about a meditation, for example, for some people, they can sit down, they don't even use the preparatory stage. They go right into a deeper state. And some people could do that right off the bat. Some people, that happens after experience. So this is a basic structure. But there's a lot of variation because the human experience is so different. I think for you, however, I think it's more of an issue of doubt. Yeah. Am I doing this right? Can I do this? Should I be doing this? Et cetera, et cetera. For you, it's doubt. So I would use that as your object, as what is this doubt? And take a look at that, because doubt is an obstruction. Yeah, as you probably realized, you only go so far because we're always doubting ourselves or doubting our capacity or our self-worth, et cetera, et cetera. So we practice in order to dispel those doubts.
My name is Leslie. My question is regarding concentration. We talked about the fact that samadhi serves as a way of providing a basis for insight. And I was wondering, you had mentioned that in Tibetan traditions, they have the 9 stages of concentration. And I was wondering, is concentration something that we emphasize in this tradition? Is it something we should be paying more attention to in that kind of refined way?
Yeah. Oh, that's a very good question. It's emphasized in all traditions of meditation. It's actually kind of emphasized in more devotional forms too. Concentration on visual images, such as the Western Pure Land or Amitabha Buddha. So concentration is really emphasized in all traditions because it's one of the bases of the Eightfold Path that leads to liberation, to freedom, spiritual freedom. And I think it's important. I don't think we stress it enough or delve into it enough as we should. Because the more you build that up, the more deeper your experience is. And the more we see things on a more subtle level. It's easy, for example, the root, unwholesome root factor of, say, greed or desire. Okay. It's one thing to see, boy, I really want this. Yeah. Okay. In terminology, there's what's called gross and subtle. Okay, so wanting, really, I really want this German chocolate cake. Okay. That's attraction, that's desire, that's greed. And it's a gross sense because it's quite obvious, it's quite obvious. But it's not always easy to see the layers of the subtle desire, the subtle desires that we build stories on or build emotions on. So can you see the root? Can you see it as it's just beginning to form in the mind? We think we have these big emotions. If you practice enough, you see it starts very small. Thoughts, emotions start very small. But then they have the potential of excavating because we don't know we're building. So I think it's very important, and I don't think we pay enough attention to. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, I think this will be it. So we can have a little break before. Was there one last person over there? Okay, yeah, I saw you kind of popping around there.
My name's Veronica, And related to this last question, these 9 stages or levels, I'm wondering how that relates to, I was told Ty's book, Breathe. He reviews a traditional practice, something like 12 different exercises, breathing exercise, or anyway, I don't have the terminology right, but I'm wondering how they relate.
Yeah, the Anapadisati Sutra.
The what?
I don't know if I can say it again. Anapadisati Sutra. Yeah. The breathing exercises. That whole thing is an exercise in concentration. That whole thing, even if you just do the first one, that's an exercise in concentration. All of them are exercises in concentration. Okay, well, I think we'll finish here for today. End with 3 sounds of the bell.